here.
And I'm Vasu.
And our solution is the xRGlove. We're trying to enforce employee hand washing. So I'm the business analyst. I do the planning and I do the strategy.
And I do the technology and market data, which includes coding.
So what's the big problem here? I have a question for you all. Who would like to eat food made by an employee who didn't wash their hands? No one, obviously, right? So that's the big problem here, bad hand hygiene in restaurants. Did you know that only 20% of the employees wash their hands after using the restrooms? And a restaurant can lose up to $2.6 million if an outbreak occurs due to bad hand hygiene. So, who has this problem? Obviously, everyone has this problem, but we're focusing on fast food restaurants and their employees.
So these are interview results. As you can see, the customers, which are represented by patrons of the restaurants, most of them say that the signs in the bathrooms that say employees must wash their hands are not very effective. This shows us that there is a real problem and it needs to be solved. The employers, on the other hand, say that the solution to this problem can save them thousands of dollars in employee training, but it should not have any privacy issues that would cause employee discomfort. Taking this into mind, we removed a camera which we were initially planning to have in our design and made it even better. So what is the solution? So the solution is an RFID-based band that works with an RFID-enabled soap dispenser and water tap to essentially check employee compliance to hand washing rules.
So how does it work? On the right side of the screen, you guys can see that there is a dashboard. This will be placed in the kitchen so everyone, including the managers and the employees, can see how an employee did. So first, ideally, when an employee enters the bathroom and after they use the restroom, they're going to wash their hands with soap, then water, and then they're going to exit, which means that they will be flagged green. But when an employee enters, uses water without using soap, and exits, then they're going to be flagged yellow, and the employer will receive an immediate notification. When an employee enters and only exits, then they will be flagged red, and the employer or manager will receive an immediate notification too. And in the future, we're planning to enhance the band by adding a light that will blink, and it will show the compliance of the employee. In addition to looking at the database, in addition to looking at the dashboard in the kitchen of the restaurant, everyone will be able to see how the employee did on the wrist. Vasu is going to demonstrate our prototype.
So this is a box. It represents essentially when the employee has already washed their hands and used the restroom and they're preparing to exit. So this represents the band. As you can see, when I place it here, it flashes red. This shows that they did not do it. Whereas if I take this one will represent if they did do everything correctly. As you can see, it flashes green. This is our prototype.
And here's the band. I'm going to pass it around for you guys to take a look at it. It's waterproof and it comes in many colors. It's unisex and it has a RFID chip inside of it. And the wrist is adjustable too.
So this is our compliance report. It is a constantly updated report that can be aggregated daily, weekly, or monthly based on the employer's preferences. Basically what this report does is it shows who washed their hands, for how long did they wash their hands, and this report can be used by employers to see who needs to be reprimanded, who needs to be trained, and who is doing well.
So currently, right now, we have one potential customer, and they are Zoom Pizza. We went and we talked to them, and we asked if they had the problem about bad hand hygiene. And then they said, yes, they do, not only in their setup, but they notice it in all the other restaurants too. So they decided to evaluate our product.
So these would be our competitors. Our two major competitors are CloudClean and PatSpot. As you can see, our price is much lower than both CloudClean and PatSpot. This is because we use a different groundbreaking solution that includes RFID bands. This is much more effective than CloudClean, which tracks the employee around the restroom, which cause many inefficiencies, and PatSpot that uses an extremely expensive sensor to check if the hands are clean. We also target fast food restaurants, whereas PatSpot targets mainly big companies, which can include restaurants, but it usually does not. And CloudClean targets restaurants, but we target fast food restaurants, which have different requirements for health. So this is our timeline. By mid-August, we plan to have a fully working prototype, and by nearing the end of September, we plan to start work with Zoom Pizza in trials. By the end of December of 2019, we plan to have a completely and fully working solution ready.
So our go-to-market plan is that we're going to partner with soap and water dispensing companies like the Chicago Water Tap Faucet Company to market and sell as a value add. We're also going to partner with Yelp to rate restaurants and give them a hand hygiene score. And we're also going to partner with communities to demand for hand hygiene compliance records by running advertisement.
So these are our revenue streams. As you can see, we have a subscription-based model, which is $60 per month. And we also have annual support, annual contracts, and we also do resells.
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
So what is the cost of that RFID
The band?
and where do you get it from?
Okay, so our band, it cost us $5 right now, but when we buy it in a big bulk, it will be less than $1.
So you already have the competitors. Why didn't they think about what you're doing and how you're going to protect your IP?
They use a different technology completely. For example, we use RFID, whereas they use sensors and scanners. They didn't think about that because they're going for a completely different market share. They're going for such as PatSpot is looking for big corporations like, for example, hospitals, which have completely different requirements. For example, a doctor has to have their hands much cleaner than a fast food restaurant. And CloudClean is looking for more expensive restaurants, fancier restaurants, which have more money, like 5-star restaurants maybe. And those require much more clean hands than us.
Super cool idea. Glad that you actually got there. Just a couple of questions. In restaurant kitchens, people have to do lots of jobs. I wear one of these bands, though not for my employer watching me, but for myself. It's pretty invasive for a lot of activities. So how do you think about somebody who's actually a cleaning staff and washing dishes? That's their job in the kitchen.
I mean, I feel like it shouldn't come in the way, but it's waterproof also. So I don't think it would affect it that much, but that's a good point.
Yeah, and there is another associated thing in a lot of food kitchens. They don't want you to wear any jewelry and stuff because they become a place to harbor bacteria. So you should think about that for your design, because while you might be removing one source of bacteria, you might be creating a new one because stuff gets stuck and just...
Okay.
I just wanted to understand more on your partner elements where you're talking about working with hand soap companies, etc. So you're looking at RFID tags on their side and so on. So how does the restaurant set up initially? Who's absorbing those costs, do you think, and things of that sort?
Well, so already right now, there's already RFID existing soap dispensers and water faucets. So I think it's just going to be easier if we just buy it from them and then we can just install it. Something like that, probably.
From a barrier of entry perspective, obviously it seems to be low. How can you make sure that you're not getting squashed by a whole lot of competitors out there?
We are cheaper essentially than all of our competitors by 2 to 4 times. So it's more compelling to go with us because, restaurants, they want to make more profits and not spend as much money.
And there's also a lot of restaurants spend like $1,000 on employee hand hygiene training, so they can save that essentially by just buying our product.
Thank you, guys.